She ghosted you, gave herself a gold star for brushing off the one guy who was there when her self-esteem was scraping the bottom of the barrel. She laughed at your love like it was a bad open mic night joke. Took your presence for granted, thinking you'd stick around forever like an unpaid bill. But then time that slick, no-nonsense enforcer steps in and flips the script without saying a word. One day she looks around, and guess what? Nobody's there. Not you. Because a man who's had enough doesn't scream, doesn't cry, doesn't make a scene. He goes quiet, ghosts her back, and becomes that nagging whisper in the back of her mind, the one she thought she could toy with forever, assuming love was an endless buffet. Now, does she miss you? Nah, not yet. She's still got her circus in full swing, clowning around on social media, racking up likes from strangers, her ego puffed up like a parade float. But don't sweat it, that show's got an expiration date. And when it's over, oh girl, it's a steep drop. Because a woman who spits on real love is gonna choke on some 5-star loneliness down the road. Time, that ruthless glow-up artist, will dim her shine, the invites will dry up, and the attention will vanish faster than cash at the end of the month. And when the panic hits, that's when she'll think of you. But here's the kicker. Just when she needs you most, you're already a distant memory. No rewinds, no do-overs, just a heavy silence that screams louder than any "I love you" she never bothered to appreciate. Before we dive deeper into this verbal smackdown, a quick shout-out. This video only exists because someone out there hit the like button and subscribed. So do your thing, fam, smash that like, hit subscribe, and drop a much love in the comments. Not for me, but for the algorithm, that cold-hearted kingmaker who decides if more lost souls get this wake-up call. No whining. Let's jump straight into the emotional abyss she dug for herself. Number 1, the myth of mutual love. You swore it was love, didn't you? She flashed that smile, locked eyes with you, tossed out some rom-com level affection, and you, starry-eyed, thought you were living a fairy tale. Spoiler alert, it was just cheap dollar store neediness dressed up as attention. She didn't choose you. She just used you as a placeholder to keep her ego warm until something shinier came along. You weren't her guy, you were her band-aid. You mistook her presence for reciprocation, which is already a tragedy. But mistaking her loneliness for love? That's just begging for a faceplant. Real love doesn't treat you like the last resort on a slow day. And her? She didn't even try to hide it. Either she played you on purpose, or worse, she didn't care enough to notice you were getting played. A man who loves too hard lives in a movie only he's watching. He sees signs where the signal's barely there, reads kindness as a love letter. And her? She knew the script by heart. Your goodwill made you predictable. Your attention was her emotional remote control. To the wrong woman, that's like hitting the jackpot. She doesn't have to love you back. She just needs to know you're too hooked to walk away. As long as she's got that guarantee, congrats. You're her backup plan with a heartbeat. Her emotional snack when she's bored. Her Uber that drives for free. And you, head over heels, keep thinking time will turn her into a better person. That she'll wake up and see you were the one all along. Wake up? The only thing she's waking up to is a new ego to stroke after she blocks your number. You keep trying, investing, forgiving, making a big dramatic show with a Hollywood soundtrack. And her, she just watches you drown in your own secondhand romance. Because that's the curse of the emotional guy, believing that pouring out your heart builds a bond. It doesn't. It builds a trap. An emotionally immature woman will use your soul as pocket change. She'll turn your attention into a trophy for her vanity. And when the curtain falls, you'll get it. It wasn't romance. It was a one-man show. She never loved you. She just needed an audience. And you, of course, gave her a standing ovation until you realized you were just an extra in her drama. Number 2, the phase where you humiliated yourself without knowing. You called it effort, dedication, dropped cheesy lines like real love fights for it, as if fighting was an Olympic medal for feelings. But the truth, you were just digging your own emotional grave. with a gold-plated shovel no less, because you did it with pride. You tore yourself apart trying to keep someone who never truly chose you. At best, she tolerated you, and you thought that was beautiful. This is the ugliest phase of all, when a man thinks self-sacrifice is noble. When he trades his dignity for a handful of empty texts, when he lives off crumbs and thanks her like it's a gourmet meal. You did it all. Gifts, always available, predictable as a sunrise. Responded in 2 seconds flat, solved her problems before she could blink. You were Prince Charming, in a story where she forgot you even existed. Admiration? Forget it. She kept you around for convenience, used you as an emotional ornament, a loyal sidekick in the soap opera of her self-esteem. You thought you were earning a spot in her heart. In reality, she was just shelving you next to the knickknacks she only pulls out to impress company. She'd disappear, then reappear with some flimsy, "I'm just confused" excuse. And you? Steadfast, affectionate, understanding. Swallowing lies like they were love poems. And she laughed inside. Because you sticking around after all that neglect? That was her green light. She could do whatever she wanted. You were hers. Tamed, trained, folded. She didn't even need to say no outright. All it took was ghosting you, icing you out with surgical precision, and seeing if you'd still stay. And you did. Thinking it proved your love. But love's got nothing to do with it. You weren't a man in that moment. You were her emotional crutch, her backup plan, her spare tire when the main ride broke down. And the worst part, deep down, you knew. You always knew you were humiliating yourself. But you'd rather suffer in the corner of, "But I love her," than face the void of walking away. Because to you, abandonment was the end. To her, it was just the start of hunting for the next fool on deck. That's where the good guy becomes the broken guy. She played, "I don't know what I want." You played, "I'll prove I'm the one." And in the end, only one of you walked away laughing. Spoiler, it wasn't you. You humiliated yourself, with poetry, with flowers, with patience. And in the end, you paid a steep price for a love that never existed. All you've got left is the receipt for the clown show. Congrats, you starred in a romance that only played in your head. Number 3, the story. The system sells you. Since you were a kid, they fed you the script. Be nice, smile, hold the door, listen like your life depends on it, write sappy little texts. Be the Disney prince in a world full of self-esteem inflated villains. And you bought it. Thought being the emotionally available guy was the key to respect, to reciprocity. Believed a world starving for affection needed someone like you. Poor thing. What they didn't tell you, because let's be real, it's not profitable, is that a predictable man is like free Wi-Fi. Everyone uses it, nobody values it. The system doesn't want strong, self-assured men with a sense of worth. It wants trained, submissive guys sensitive enough to cry over their neighbor's bad day. It wants an emotional punching bag who's grateful to be tossed in the trash. They sold you the image of the modern woman who craves partnership, empathy, emotional connection. But in reality, she chases the opposite. Runs after the guy who doesn't text back, who sets boundaries, who's got his own life, and doesn't grovel at the first, "Hey, stranger." Her ego thrives on adrenaline, not stability, on challenge, not consistency. And you served up predictability on a silver platter. Result, 0 spark, 0 mystery, 0 respect. You fell for the emotional propaganda, brought flowers, complimented her nail polish, respected every "I'm not ready." You became her therapist, her Uber, her life coach, and her personal clown all in one package. And what did you get? Silence, ghosting, and that classic "I'm confused" excuse. Confused? The only thing confused is your self-esteem for still trying to call that mess love. She never saw you as a prize. She saw you as a safety net. Cozy, reliable, always there when the world bruised her ego. But never the dream guy, because in her mind the real prize is the one who doesn't try. The one who ghosts, the one who doesn't need to prove a thing. And that's not about her being the villain. It's about you buying a failure script with a bow on it. The truth, my friend, is brutal. The system wants you on your knees, emotionally starved, begging for scraps like you're scrounging for Wi-Fi in an airport. It wants you broken, wondering where you went wrong, even when you did everything right. And where did you mess up? Right there. You did exactly what the system told you to be. A nice guy who always ends up alone, exhausted, and wondering why the hell the happy ending never comes. Number 4, when she starts testing your limits, she figured it out. Finally clocked the obvious. You're not going anywhere. She can ignore you, ghost you, play her little mind games, step on your self-respect with stilettos. And you're still there. Solid, resilient, pathetic. Making excuses for every absence with, she's just going through something. Trying to be her safe harbor while she treats you like a doormat. Useful, but invisible. So she starts playing. Phase 1 of her game. One-word replies. Then, vague, unexplained nights out. Vanishes for days, then pops back up like an overdue bill. And you, the MVP of emotional submission, welcome her back with open arms, sweet texts, and goodnight emojis. Because you're terrified of losing what, honestly, you never had. Here's the tragedy. You think patience is a virtue, but in the wrong context. It's just weakness. And weakness is only a turn-on for someone who craves control. She tests your limits like she's stretching a rubber band. Pull, 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 until it snaps. Except you don't snap, you bend. She doesn't respect you. She studies you. She sees your need for approval and turns it into a manipulation lab. When she realizes you won't draw a line, that you'll keep standing there like a loyal puppy, the spark dies. Because a man who takes everything doesn't pose a threat. And her ego? It thrives on threat. It needs tension. It needs the fear of loss to value what's in front of her. But you became a sure thing. A predictable good morning text. A heart emoji in the middle of her cold shoulder. An emotional zombie still asking if she's okay while she ignores you and posts stories captioned, "Living my best life." And you still think showing up will make her notice. But too much presence, my guy, without a hint of absence, turns you invisible. And in the relationship game, invisibility is game over. She's sending signals with her actions. And instead of responding with boundaries, you respond with worry. You didn't get the rules, but you already lost the game. Because she doesn't want explanations, she wants a reaction. She wants to see some backbone. But you turned into a pillow. Number 5, the day you vanish is the day she feels it. Just yesterday, you were still the court jester, always on call, sweet as sugar, ready to please like a virtual assistant with a heart. She snapped her fingers, and there you were, like magic only, without the applause, the respect, or the reciprocity. You replied before the notification even cleared, checked if she got home safe, even hyped up her passive-aggressive silence. Because in your head, that's what a good guy does. But then, you got fed up. And this time, it wasn't with a novel-length text rant. No tearful speech, no "I'm done" ultimatum. Just silence. A cold, calculated, surgical silence. And you know what's worse for someone who thrives on attention? Exactly that. Nothing. She thought it was a bluff, a cute little tantrum, another one of your emotional games. But then days passed, and nothing. No likes, no views, no emojis, no story reactions. And that's when it hit her. Because predictable presence doesn't scare anyone, but unexpected absence, that cuts deep. She doesn't miss your love. She misses the power, the control, the guarantee that she could do whatever and you'd still be there, arms wide open, self-respect on the floor. But now, the lock's changed. You switched it up. The guy she took for granted turned into a ghost, not the kind that haunts, but the kind that teaches a lesson the hard way. Every action has a consequence. She scrolls through old chats, stalks your profile, waits for a sign, and gets what? Silence. The same silence she fed you, now doubled, with interest and a side of self-respect. Because you finally got it. A man who walks away with dignity doesn't need an audience. He doesn't need come back, it'll be different. He just needs the peace that comes from choosing himself. And now her ego's the one screaming. But the show's over, the curtains are down, and the clown's not coming back for an encore. Number 6, when silence becomes your best response. You tried it all. Words, patience, affection, that foolish hope she'd change, talked like a grown-up, forgave like a saint, kept at it like a fool. And her? She brushed you off with style, listened with that, "Are you still talking?" face, replied with ice, and acted like your every plea for respect was an inconvenience. Because in her mind, you'd always be there. Crying, begging, suffering, but there. Until one day, you were done. Not with a big speech or a tearful goodbye, just silence. A silence so sharp and dry it could outcut a chef's knife. A silence that doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't perform. It just is. And when it lands, it's the emotional meltdown of someone who thought they had the game on lock. She texts, you don't read it. She posts, you don't look. She pokes, you don't flinch. Because now you know your attention was her fuel. And without fuel, sweetheart, her little game's just a pile of emotional scrap metal. Her ego, used to watching you crawl for a crumb of affection, is now sipping bitter reality tea. No sugar. You didn't need to write a novel, post a shady caption, or make a motivational TikTok. You just vanished. Let silence do the heavy lifting, and trust me, it lifts like a champ. Because unlike desperate emotion, silence doesn't grovel. It doesn't sell itself cheap. It doesn't need to prove a thing. It just shows that when you're done, and you left with dignity. Now she misses you. Not you, exactly, but the control. The comfort of knowing she had an emotional lapdog on speed dial. Except that lapdog's off the leash now and it's a wolf. The guy she thought would never have the guts to leave. Left. And worse, left no trail, no hint of coming back. What's left for her? Regret she can't admit. The sour sting of losing control. Because a man who breaks free from a toxic woman doesn't become an ex. He becomes a legend. Game over. No replay. Just the echo. Number 7. Her beauty doesn't turn heads anymore. For years she lived in a paradise of likes. Her face, a VIP pass. Her body, legal tender. Her vanity, a gleaming suit of armor. All she had to do was raise an eyebrow, strike a pose, drop a story, and boom, a flood of thirsty compliments from guys drooling like dogs at a butcher shop window. She thought that was power. That existing with a filter and an influencer vibe would keep the world at her feet forever. But time, that merciless cosmetic surgeon, doesn't take Venmo or trades. It collects, and it charges steep. Filters can't hide everything anymore. Her skin talks back. The likes slow to a trickle. The hype fades. The market cools. And the mirror starts spitting truths no generic compliment can gloss over. The audience ghosts. The invites vanish. And that forced glow turns into a sad flicker of someone who can't even impress the delivery guy anymore. The tables have turned. You're not in line anymore. You, the one she ignored while she was tossing out charm like counterfeit cash, are now the guy who doesn't reply. While she was posing, you were leveling up. While she was selling an image, you were building value. And guess what? Value doesn't age. Looks do. Now she tries the old tricks. A strategic selfie, a flirty caption, a needy little text. But now, nobody cares. Especially not you. Because what used to be pure gold is now emotional costume jewelry, loud but worthless. And she feels it. Feels the silence. Feels the echo of empty stories. Feels the absence of the one guy who saw past her makeup. She'll think of you, of course. The guy who saw her without the filter. Who admired her beyond the mirror. But she'll think of you too late. Because the man who wakes up doesn't crawl back to the cradle of illusion, and the guy she treated like nothing is now everything she can't have. The spell's broken, her beauty's expired, and you've moved on, and you're not looking back. Number 8, she feels your absence in the silence. She won't say it, obviously. Her script doesn't allow for that kind of vulnerability. But deep down, where even filters can't reach, she feels it. Feels your absence like a Wi-Fi signal that just dropped with no bars in sight. It's not about missing your love, don't kid yourself. It's about missing the power, the comfort, the guarantee that one snap of her fingers would bring you running like an extra in a low-budget rom-com. At first, she acts like nothing's changed. Posts more, smiles harder, drops stories with upbeat tracks and living my truth captions. But when the day's done, when the phone stops buzzing, when the room goes quiet, that's when it hits. And it hits hard. She feels every ounce of your absence like a needle pricking her inflated ego. She tries to fill the void, gets dolled up, goes out, flirts, throws herself at others, but it's all shallow. It all tastes like not him, because nobody else responds like you did. Nobody else has your devotion, your intensity, your consistency. All she finds out there is the same old surface-level attention, cookie-cutter compliments, empty small talk. And that's when it clicks. What you gave wasn't just affection, it was real presence. And that, these days, is a rare commodity. She starts looking for you in silence. Scrolls through old texts, creeps on your profile, drops hints about you, hoping someone brings your name up. But there's no reply, no callback, because you walked away and locked the door with a key called dignity. What used to be her comfort zone is now a no-entry zone. She's lost her all-access pass. Now her silence is her punishment. The absence she used to manipulate you has turned into her own knockout blow, because you're not there anymore. You've rebuilt your life somewhere her name doesn't fit, and that, my friend, is the part she can't stomach. She misses you in the details, in the patience she scoffed at, in the care she ignored, in the small gestures she thought were your job, and the irony, the gut punch reality. She only sees how much you were worth when you stopped being available. She misses you, yeah, but it's too late, because you've become an absence she can't undo, and the man who found himself far from her never gets lost for her again. Number 9. When nobody wants her anymore, she'll remember you. The day will come. Oh, it will. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month, but it's coming. Age creeps in, the mirror tells no lies, and filters start to wear thin. That foolproof charm can't even get her through the revolving door at the bank anymore. The looks that used to light up a room now get side-eyed. The compliments dry up, the flirts fade, the stage empties, and all that's left is her, alone, sitting in a silence no hype-filled story can mask. And that's when it hits late, but it hits. She doesn't think about the shallow pickup lines or the bad boys she used to chase. She thinks of you, the one emotionally stable fool who made her a priority when she shoved you into the basement of her backup plans. She remembers the no-strings-attached care, the presence with no fine print, the guy who saw beauty where she didn't even try. But you're just a memory now, a bitter echo, a ghost she banished herself. Because she traded love for likes, presence for emojis, commitment for come-over promises. And now all those guys who used to buzz around her like flies on ripe fruit? Gone. Because the shine's faded, the appeal's gone, and the line's moved on. But you were different, and she knows it. Too late, but she knows. Now she wants to be remembered, but nobody does. She wants to be desired, but nobody cares. And in her emotional desperation, your name becomes a silent prayer. But prayers without faith don't get answered. And you're not picking up, because the guy she dismissed didn't turn into her enemy. He turned untouchable. He became the standard of what she lost, what she can't get back, what her planet-sized ego can't reclaim. She thinks of you now with dry tears, with texts she'll never send. But you don't come back, because the man who once begged for scraps now feasts far from her. And the cruelest irony of all, when she finally saw your worth, you were already gone, no glance back. And now she's the one in line, and the line's closed. Number 10. The law of disdain, your ultimate weapon. You spent too long trying to be seen, trying to be understood by someone who wouldn't even look you in the eye without a filter. You tried to prove your worth like you were a clearance sale item, begged for space like you were asking for emotional spare change. But now, It's over. Time to pull out the most powerful, most feared, most unstoppable weapon of all. Disdain. Not just any disdain. Not the petty, block her on WhatsApp to see if she cares kind. We're talking real disdain. Cold. Clear-headed. The kind that doesn't come from anger, it comes from clarity. From the absolute certainty that it wasn't about a lack of love. It was about a lack of reciprocity. A lack of respect. And you realize no man needs to stay where he's treated like a spare part. The law of disdain is simple and savage. If she treated you like Plan B, you vanish like you were never there. No announcement, no explanation, no dramatic breakup post. You just stop existing. Because your absence isn't running away, it's strategy. It's a verdict. And her ego? It might be bulletproof against everything. Except the silence of the man she once had in her pocket. She thought you'd cry. That you'd crawl back, desperate for a sliver of her attention. Thought you couldn't survive without that daily dose of her dressed-up indifference. But what she didn't count on was you cutting her off with surgical precision. And what's left for her? Nothing. An echo. A void where her control used to be. Now you don't reply, you don't engage, you don't give a sign, because your silence is your discipline, your disdain is your shield. And she, the queen of her own delusion, now sits on an empty throne in a kingdom where nobody shows up, because the one man who truly saw her is gone, and not to play games, because he learned respect isn't begged for, it's demanded. Your disdain is her punishment. A constant reminder that she lost everything without even noticing. And the cruelest part? She'll hear your silence every day. In the mirror. In her failed attempts to get attention. In her endless scrolling for someone to replace you. Spoiler, she won't find one. Because the man who walked away for his self-respect doesn't come back. Not with a map. Not with nostalgia. Not with apologies. She lost you. But what really destroys her is knowing. You don't care. Brutal final takeaway. You didn't make a scene. Didn't beg. Didn't write a novel-length text. You just stopped. And that stop was louder than any desperate scream. You got tired of serving a feast to someone who thought showing up was a favor. And the second you went silent, she felt it. Sure, she won't admit it. Her ego's bigger than her Instagram following. But she felt it. Because when a real man walks away, he leaves a void no amount of filters or DMs can fill. She thought she was the center of the universe, strutting, posing, acting like a fading star while you waited like a fool with hope. But now she's running, and there's no audience, no encore, no applause. Her beauty? Showing signs of wear. Her ego? Starving. The invites? Gone like dignity on a reality show. And in the middle of this elegant collapse, she remembers. Oh, she remembers the man who treated her like she was one in a million, while she treated him like, if I've got time. Now the bills due. Paid in installments of empty nights, with emotional interest and daily reminders in the form of silence. Because the man she thought would beg forever, vanished with a class she'll never touch, and all that's left is the echo. The regret that eats away. The trauma of losing a guy she only understood when it was too late. You didn't become the villain. You didn't become the weak one. You became the absence she could never decode. And that absence is the punishment she'll carry, dressed up as fake empowerment. Deep down, she feels it. But she'd rather choke than admit it. Because now, with the stage empty and the spotlight off, it's your name she whispers between one story and the next. But you, my friend, you're already a legend, and legends don't come back to beg for a stage.